And welcome back to the Nose Plays Darkest Dungeon. We are week 2 of our Radiant campaign. And as I talked about last week, we picked up 4 brand new heroes from the stagecoach. I'm not sure whether we're going to run any of these heroes in this next mission, but I will show you how I choose my second mission. We've already done all the upgrades that we can at the end of last video. And we've already prepped our barracks for the next round of recruits. So we'll get 4 more heroes after this week to pick up. So that's what we're looking to do. The other thing we're looking to do is collect more of these guys so we can do even more upgrades. We are currently completely out of deeds. We're going to need to grab some more if we're going to fill out our barracks and have a good rotation of heroes that we can use, for lack of a better word. So let's go ahead and check out the options available to us. I'll go ahead and pull off our current party just in case we decide to switch anybody up. And let's take a look. So the first thing that we want to look at whenever we look at a mission is the length of the mission. Short missions are typically the worst missions that you can go on. If you ever have an option of going on something other than a short mission, I would highly recommend it for various reasons. But the most important reason is the ability to camp on medium and long missions gives you a much needed alternative and relatively free stress relief for your party. And that way you don't have to prioritize using the buildings and using your gold. So we're going to look for medium missions. I already see 2 and I'll point those out in a moment. The next thing you're going to want to look at is what is the goal. The goal is relatively unimportant, although there are a few goals that are a little bit different than others, and we'll see some of those as we continue through the game. But this is what we're looking for here. Crests are really easy to collect. Anytime you got a mission that gives you crests, it's probably a very low priority. Crests are just easy to come by everywhere, so having them as a reward mission is not great. A trinket, snake oil, minus 10% stress. Actually not a terrible trinket for the early game. Minus 10% stress with no negative penalty associated with it is okay. But definitely probably not the mission we're going to end up taking. The second mission is also short, and it's a complete 100% of room battles quest with a leper only trinket. We don't currently have a leper in our party, and it is offering 2 busts, but busts are not they're okay to collect if you're looking to upgrade a building with busts, but there are better ways to go about that, and we'll talk about that as well. But this is also a short mission. We're not going to be taking any short missions when we can. You can see these next 2 missions have these little spikes sticking out of them. There's 3 spikes. Any mission that has 3 spikes is a medium length dungeon. So the ones with no spikes are short, the ones with 3 spikes are medium, and the ones that have 6 spikes are actually long missions. I think we've probably found our mission of choice. This is going to give us 5 deeds. We're going to have to complete 100% of room battles, and we're going to get an occultist trinket, which we will probably sell, but if we do happen to find an occultist in the next stagecoach, we might be able to utilize that. And finally, clear 90% of rooms. This is an okay item for the Houndmaster. An additional 25% stun skill chance for only -1 speed is a pretty good trade-off. However, the busts are not a great reward for a medium length dungeon like this, so we're definitely going to go with this mission. This is the best mission by far of all the ones we have available to us. It's going to give us a chance to heal some stress in the middle of the dungeon or at the end if we choose to wait that long. Pretty good haul of gold and 5 deeds, which are super important to us right now. Hopefully we'll find some more while we're in there, but this is the mission we're going to take. This is a level 1 mission, so once again, if we bring any level 0 heroes, those heroes are going to potentially have a little bit of stress. They'll start with that plus 20 stress, so the camping is even more important when you're bringing low-level heroes, your zero-level heroes, into their first dungeon before they've leveled up. So keep that in mind as well. I think we absolutely are going to need to bring a healer, and we don't have any other healers in this party. The one position I really like Renaud as our tank. The problem is he's collecting quite a few of these negative traits. We can only ever get one more before some of these might start falling off. The ones that I'm really not super happy about are Kleptomaniac, for one, and Fear of the Eldritch. Those two are the two big ones that I would prefer to go away. We're probably not going to get lucky and lose one of those anytime soon, but having Kleptomaniac is a bit of a problem, especially if he happens to grab a sack that has deeds in it. That really gets on my nerves. Dismas has been doing okay. He is going to potentially grab for money, and he may even steal money from us occasionally, so that's not great. But he does have this particular trait, which is super important during camping. It prevents you from getting ambushed at night and increases your chance at surprising the enemy while decreasing their chance at surprising you. So this is a pretty good camping skill, which makes him pretty valuable whenever you can camp. Vernon is a hero that I might consider dropping for one of the other two. But what I think I'm going to do probably is we'll go ahead and run the same group that we ran this last dungeon. Try to get their stress lowered through camping. And then next week we're going to have 8 level 0 heroes to pick from that we can run through in week 3. We don't want any particular group to get super far ahead of the other ones, but the main thing that we're going to be looking for in that next group of heroes is a new healer. We're going to need a low level healer to take through a dungeon with these guys. So let's go ahead and use this same group. And let's take a look at our trinkets, because we did win a trinket and we found a couple more. And I'm going to go ahead and unequip the one that we had on one of our heroes. So let's see. The Houndmaster Whistle is going to be really good when we start taking the Houndmaster in. Unfortunately, the scouting benefit is only useful if our torch is below half, which is kind of dangerous. We'll have to consider that. I think we'll probably just apply the same thing that we did last time. There's no reason not to put this on her, but it's not particularly fantastic, especially in the ruins. There's not a ton of disease in the ruins. There are a few units that will cause disease. The Warrens is the place where having disease resistance is much better. There's a lot of disease marking enemies in that particular dungeon. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything. We've got 12,000 gold. That's important to keep track of because we want to make sure we're coming out on top. We already talked about the buildings at the end of the last quest, so yeah, I guess we're ready to go. The usual suspects. Alright, so when you go through a medium dungeon, you get this firewood, and this is what allows you to camp for a while. By setting up camp, you're able to reduce your stress as well as recover some of your health, but it takes a fair amount of food to do that. So we're actually going to take all the food on this quest just so we have a little bit of extra. I'd rather have too much than not enough, just in case we get really bad rolls on the hunger. Hunger is the random event that you saw happen a few times in the last dungeon, and it can be really annoying when it happens and you're out of food. For torches, we're going to take a few more than we took. I think we'll take 13 torches. We don't really need a full stack of 16, I don't think. We'll probably find a couple as we're walking around. A couple of bandages, 1 medical herb, and I'll take 3 of these, and then we'll take 3 keys on this one for a medium dungeon. We might even take 4. Just 3. And 2 shovels. That should be good. Hopefully if we do happen to come across blockages, we can route our way around them. But we do have 2 shovels if we need to use them. And we might find another one. So of our 12,000 gold, we spent about 4,500. Closer to 4,000. So we need to make back at least 4,000. We're going to do that for sure because this mission is 4,500 gold. So that's basically going to pay for our supplies. That means that any gold that we actually carry out of this dungeon goes back in the bank. And that would kind of be the way that I would run it. You want to supply yourself basically based on what the reward for the quest is going to be. And that way, anything you do manage to carry out is profit.
The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble
so we already have
mind.
one we can avoid, and there's a second one here, so we're definitely not going to want to use both of our shovels just in case there's another one. We're going to be forced to go through this one, but because we're only having to clear out room battles, we can actually avoid this hallway altogether, unless we just really want to fight these guys and grab these curios. So we'll go ahead and head out this way first. And our highwayman has the best chance for clearing traps, which he failed, surprisingly.
Ambushed by foul invention.
That doesn't happen very often with the highwayman. This sometimes has some good loot in it. I can't remember if it's the herbs or the holy water, so I'm going to go throw it in our holy water in there first. And that was it, so no negative effects can happen when you use a proper item for a curio. I'm going to pop our torch. Now the reason I'm popping the torch, I'm not as worried about an enemy in this because we know there's no enemies here, but it may trigger another scouting event, which is important. And we're looking for a special scouting event that might happen. Nope, not this time. So there's a special scouting event that sometimes can trigger where you can find an exceptional secret room full of really, really nice treasures. We're going to have our first battle here. These guys cannot surprise us since we scouted them. So that's good for us. That's interesting. Kind of in an interesting position, but they rolled 3 backline units, so they're kind of forcing one of them into the front there. I'm tempted to go ahead and stab him with a bleed. He's definitely the most dangerous of the enemies that we have. However, this is just a much more efficient attack. I think we're going to go ahead and throw the blight. And we will have Dismas try and bleed this guy out. Nice hit. And the bleed stuck, so that's good. We're already starting to accumulate a fair amount of stress, so what can we do to reduce that? Well, we don't have good odds of hitting either one of these units. This unit, yeah. Alright, so that should put him... Nope, not quite at lethal. Darn. We're going to have a good roll here. Zealous Accusation has the same accuracy as this. It's definitely enough damage to take this guy out if it lands. Stunning Blow actually has a higher accuracy. Let's go ahead and go with the high accuracy and try to get this guy to keep from acting. He will die if we land the stun to the bleed without getting a chance to act again. These these guys have really high dodge, so using your highest accuracy attacks against them
Gently.
is pretty important.
This is how a life is taken.
Alright, this guy's already dead, so we don't need to worry about him. We'll just throw another blight on that guy. And pistol shot here maybe puts him in definitely puts him in lethal range. And we can throw down a heal on Dismas.
The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden.
Just in time for him to take more damage. Alright, we're going to try to stun this unit for a couple of turns and get a couple of heals off. Try to do some replenishing as much as we can.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden.
Nice heal for 5 again. I think that's near the top of her range. The chances of a second stun are pretty slim, but if I go ahead and do this, this has a couple of effects, and it's pretty useful in a longer dungeon. It will actually increase our torchlight by 20, which is useful in certain situations, but it also marks our Crusader and gives him some damage resistance. So he's more likely to get attacked, and he'll take less damage.
As the light gains
than anyone
purchase,
else.
spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear.
I don't really want to kill this guy yet, so I'm going to do a weak attack. Try to get another heal off and hope that he doesn't do anything too obnoxious. The other thing we're looking for when we do this kind of recovery period is anytime you use an ability that has the potential to crit, including heals, you can reduce some stress off of crits. So that's pretty useful. We'll go ahead and try to stun him again. We might end up killing him with this. And he went for Dismas again, but this time Dismas with the dodge. This will finish him off, so we'll just use our
Press this
high
advantage.
damage spell.
Give them no quarter.
Alright. So, books tend to be bad. There is the potential to get good things from books. You can get positive quirks from them sometimes, I believe, but more often than not it's going to give you stress, and we're not in the business of building up stress, so we're going to avoid the books. One thing I will highly recommend that you never do is never set fire to the books. That tends to end really poorly. Nothing in there, and because our torchlight is still above this mark here, we don't need to light up another torch for this, so we'll go ahead and enter this room. Alright. Madmen have a very high speed, as well as good dodge, so... This is difficult, but we really need to get rid of this guy, so we're going to roll for it. Just a little bit better than a 50-50 chance on hitting, though. Nice hit by our vessel there. We could go ahead and apply a blight, which puts him 2 turns, and he'll be out of commission. And if we can grape shot and get any damage on him at all, that will actually put him down. The other thing I could do is, since I don't need a lot of damage, I could use tracking shot in this case. Tracking shot has pretty high accuracy. Yeah, let's do that. We don't need a lot of damage, just 2 points of damage. Plus it'll buff our damage and accuracy for the rest of this fight. And now he is within lethal of that dot. Good dodge by our highwaymen. Taking some damage over here. One thing we could do this early in the fight is go ahead and pop Bulwark of Faith. However, I think it makes more sense to just go ahead and swing for this guy. We have a fair chance that we could take him out. Not quite. We've just been a little bit shy. We haven't rolled really good for damage on our Crusader very often.
A death by inches.
Alright. We need to attack this target and get him to within lethal. He's already moved this round, though. So the other option is we use his attack. I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and Great Blast. That has the potential to kill both of these.
Their formation is broken. Maintain
Great
the
shot.
offensive.
Yeah. And then we're going to go ahead and apply some blights to this character while... we don't have a front row blight, do we? Okay, we're just going to use him to heal then. A crit on the heal. Restore a little bit of that stress there. We'll try to take our time with this guy and get a stun on him. Stun resist is pretty low right now, so we have pretty good odds of that. And we should be able to get a couple heals off with our Vestal because of it. That's his first turn. We probably won't be able to stun him again.
Confidence surges as the enemy
and a crit.
crumbles.
I'll take it.
Seize this momentum. Push
Alright,
on
so
to the task's end.
we have a emerald here, which is worth a fair amount of money. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and drop our anti-venom and hope we don't get poisoned. And we are going to go ahead and use our key. However, I'm considering this is really far. This is really far to walk all the way back here. I don't think we want to do that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and open this with the torchlight as it is. I would prefer to open this with the torchlight out, but I don't want to throw that many torches away. Actually, I do. Nah, because we don't have the loot space to carry it out anyways yet.
A handsome reward.
Okay. So
For
we're
a
going to have to
task
drop
well
something else to
performed.
take these busts. Busts are pretty useful, which we need. What we can do is we can go ahead and eat some of this extra food we found, and that'll free up a slot for us. We definitely don't need to go to this room, but we could look at these two curios real quick and see if there's something we want to snag, which they are.
Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Alright, back to the door. And we're going to let our torch burn down a little bit, just in case the curio that we're coming up on here is any good. If it happens to be any good, we want to get the better loot roll if possible.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Alright, so we'll get a slightly better loot roll, but this isn't a very good...
Wealth beyond
yeah,
measure.
we got some gold, so...
Awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike.
And a torch. Go ahead and light up back to Radiant before we enter this room for the battle. Maybe we'll get a surprise. Alright. So this is good. Dismas's stress is getting a little bit high. We don't have a great way to reduce it. However, increasing his crit chance for the remainder of the battle may allow him to get a crit. So we're going to go ahead and start using Mark Shot a little bit more. Or Tracking Shot, I should say. think it makes sense to go ahead and use the stun. And then try to target
Continue
that guy.
the onslaught. Destroy
Good
them
roll there.
all.
We can go ahead and mark. That'll give
In
us more
Radiance,
light
may we find
and
victory.
hopefully get these guys to focus him. More than happy for him to take some damage. I'm not so keen on Dismas continually getting the beat down. Yeah, we don't have a great way to wipe these guys out, so I'm just going to do some AoE damage. Heal down on our freshly wounded character. And try to... Oh, this only hits the front line. Alright. Go ahead and get a light on the crossbowman, who's definitely the most dangerous. And even with a mark, we're just not getting a lot of swings on you. That's unfortunate, but this will help.
Be gone, fiend.
And a crit. Yeah, not much else we can do. Now they want to focus him. Vestal's getting her healing in. We could take both of these guys out. I don't think that's necessary. We'll go with this to try to get a crit, just to get some stress relief. I can't crit that guy. Alright, we'll try and crit this guy. Nice.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Alright. Let's see if we can't get one more round of healing in here. And unfortunately, unless I just pass my action, which I can do, we're not going to get a ton of healing. Alright,
Vigor
and a
is
crit heal,
restored.
some more stress relief, and we'll go ahead and finish you off with the Crusader.
Executed with impunity.
Well done, everybody.
As victories mount, so too will resistance.
Move those guys back into the proper spots. We got some food, so we can go ahead and eat that up. And as you can see, crests stack up to 12 highs. So, and we're just finding a ton of these. This is what I was telling you about earlier. We're just going to find a bunch of these crests. Portraits are actually really valuable, and we should probably take them. But that means we're going to have to drop some stuff. So, probably going to do that for now. We could drop our bandages. We do have a plague doctor that can heal bleeding, but that kind of sucks that we brought this many bandages and we're not going to get to use them. Could also throw down the emerald or the onyx. The onyx is only worth 500. Let's go ahead and take that. And we'll use a key. Alright, not much in there because our light is so high. And we can't even take the gold, unfortunately. That's fine. We'll just drop the gold for now. I think we probably have too many torches for this. In fact, we definitely do. I forgot about his plus 20 light that we've been using quite frequently, and that's helping us reduce the number of torches that we really needed for this. I probably could have thrown those away for that money. Let's go ahead and continue on. We didn't get a scout, so this is going to be a dangerous hallway. Anytime you're walking an unscouted hallway, try to have your light up as high as possible. Well,
Carelessness will find no clemency in this place.
that was unfortunate. And this is an unscouted room, so once again, pump our torch up, but no enemies in this room. No scouting, unfortunately, so we're in the same position as before. Alright, this will be a quick fight. In fact, I may even throw down a heal.
Another abomination, cleansed from our lands.
She can heal one of these two guys. Nice. Drop the stress a little bit. Good dodge by our Crusader. He doesn't have much dodge to begin with. Let's go ahead and stun this guy and see if we can get another round of healing in. Go ahead and heal myself. Little tracking shot. Oh, we can't tracking shot that. I could tracking shot this, just to increase his crit chance on the last blow, which we'll try to use.
The light, the promise of safety.
And heal on our Crusader. Puts us close to topped off. The skeleton's pretty slow, so he's probably not going to get a chance to act before we do. He's going to go last or second to last in most cases. Can I? No crit. But that's fine. This will land.
Another one falls.
That will be that.
Ghoulish horrors. Brought
So
low
we need
and
to go
driven
ahead
into
and
the mud.
drop these extra torches. We just don't really need the torches. Do need the food though.
Finding the stuff is only the
Portraits.
first test. Now it must be carried home.
Another chest. We're gonna go ahead and tracking shot that. See if we can't stun these. That's good. We'll use judgment on this. Soften it up for our highwayman next round. And just go ahead and Zealous Accusation these, see if we get lucky roll on damage. Pretty decent. Not enough to kill him. Man, they just really focus our second position in this game for some reason. So these guys are going to be stun resistant now. That means that I probably want to go and throw a plague grenade back here. Alright, our healer has a chance, and we're going to have to go ahead and use her to bring our highwayman back up a little ways. Neither of these frontliners have acted yet, and we have the potential to kill both of them and put him in lethal next round, so that's what we're going to do. Not quite. Unfortunately. Yeah, Zealous Accusation those away. He is lethal at this point, and he's lethal in 2 turns. Unfortunately, because I moved him back, my stun won't actually tag this one now. So I think it's probably best to just go ahead and put him lethal this turn as well.
The slow death.
Hopefully we get a couple more actions before they do.
Unforgiving.
Alright, and some deeds. We need the deeds for sure. So, who's going to take the deeds? Let's go ahead and drop our bandages. We haven't been getting a lot of bleeds. I'm sure we're going to be bled out the wazoo now that we don't have any bandages, but...
If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption.
900 gold. I don't typically want to drop my holy waters in case we come across one of the better curios, but alright, we're getting close to the end of this one. Let's see if we can get a good roll on a trap disarm and lose some more stress. That was good. Ignore the books, please. Brighten that up. No enemies in this room. Scouting. Empty room ahead. Another chance to lower stress. So traps are actually really good when they're scouted because they give you good opportunities to lower stress on your heroes at the risk of a little bit of damage. You may get one more of those. I do have a chance to trigger a trap when I look in here, so we're going to have you do it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He did resist the bleed, but no loot. See if we can get one more scouting. Nope. Alright, there's only 2 rooms left, and looks like we have a spider. We don't want the spider poisoning us, so we're going to go ahead and knock him out this turn. We want to kill these maggots pretty quickly. So
Back to
that
the
one out.
pit.
Good dodge. That's unfortunate.
The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden.
Zealous accusation. That. Well done.
Be wary.
Okay.
Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
We just got rid of our holy water. And that's no good. We got a disease. Creeping cough. Minus 20% damage. That's a terrible disease to get. So the good news is, because we brought a plague doctor, we have the ability to cure a disease when we camp. So the timing of this could not have been better, really, in terms of our party composition and our ability to still camp. If we had holy water, we could potentially get a damage buff. We can try it anyways. Alright, so 20% damage until we camp, and minus 20% damage, so we kind of just canceled that out for this next battle or two, which is fine. We'll got to make sure we remember to remove that disease from him when we camp, though. Ooh, we're out of keys. And they surprised us. Wow. Okay. Let's see. We definitely need to move you back. Let's go ahead and tracking shot. This is going to be a dangerous fight. The surprise can really goof up your party's ability to fight. do what we can. Good dodge. We need to get rid of any frontline damage we can. Ah. Well, 1 point away from lethal is pretty terrible, but it does provide you the opportunity to do something useful. Good dodge again. We need to get our healer going here.
Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle.
Hopefully we can get a crit. I can stun this guy and remove his action.
Powerful blow.
That'll help. Nice.
A singular
Good crit.
strike.
Give me a little bit of time to heal up here. And they just keep targeting that second position. I don't really want to move back because that's going to not be good for our healer. Let's see if we can't draw the enemy fire to our tank. That would be nice. Nope. They don't want to attack our tank at all. Which is just rather annoying. Alright, neither one of these have acted yet. I could jump to the front, which I think I'm going to do instead of taking a shot at this guy, which isn't going to kill him anyways. And luckily our hero acted first, so we have a chance to stun this guy again. With only 1 hit point remaining, we don't really care about the stun as much as actually hitting him. And so I'm going to go ahead and use Stunning Blow because it has a higher accuracy. Good dodge by our Highwayman. And now we have more actions to choose from. But more importantly, these guys have their actions back. 9 damage on the pistol shot is pretty decent. And that puts him well within lethal. So he'll die next turn no matter what happens. We'll try to heal our guys up as best we can in that time. Alright, double heals by our Vestal, rolling good for the speed roll there. And maybe we can get another crit. Nope. But still enough to trigger a little bit of stress relief, so that was good.
This expedition at least promises success.
Go ahead and eat the food. And I'm going to go ahead and have this guy eat the food. We have one more battle that we want to take on. I'm going to leave this chest for after we put the lights out. And I'm going to go ahead and take that for now. We're going to continue adventuring. I want to see what's in this last hallway. We'll come back and unlock this chest with the torch out. Just to try to get a better roll for loot. Anything? Nope. A trap.
Watch your step.
That doesn't really hurt us all that much. Okay, and that was it, so we're gonna head back. Fortunately, triggering a couple stress on the one guy I don't want to stress out anymore. Before we check this out, we are going to go ahead and camp. And since we have
close in tenuous
8
firelight,
food, this will help
an
reduce the stress of
uneasy
most of our
companionship.
heroes. So we know we had one thing we needed to do, which is the leeches on him. So let's go ahead and use leeches on him, and that cures his disease, so that was useful. I can reduce stress by 5 to all companions. I can encourage minus 15 stress to the party. This costs 5. That's worth using. And then I'll go ahead and use this on him. That brings his stress down quite a bit. We have 3 points left. This will do the rest of it. And hopefully we don't trigger a battle. I did not end up using his bandit sense to prevent the nighttime ambush, so we better get lucky with our roll. But this should remove the last of the stress. And a buff for him. And now it's time to roll arrest. See if we roll good, see if we roll bad. Hopefully, no combat.
The way is lit. The path
Good
is
stuff.
clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
No problem fighting. We'll put our
The
torch out.
darkness holds much worse than mere trickery and boogeymen.
And we'll take a look. Alright, so not a great roll for treasure, but still enough. So, overall, a pretty good haul of loot. We did over-purchase on torches a little bit. I wouldn't say that we over-purchased on food, just because of how random the hunger events can sometimes be. Sometimes you get a really bad roll. So having 4 extra food, I don't feel too bad about. And then the 2 shovels were probably enough. We did find a couple, but that's not always going to be the case. So I think overall we did pretty good. You can see we got a lot of busts, which are going to be useful. 24 crests in this run. Only 4 deeds, which I believe stack to 6 high. And portraits only stack to 3 high, but portraits are really useful, and I'll show you why here in just a moment. So since we finished this, we're going to go ahead and head back to the
Room by
victory
room,
screen.
hall by hall, we reclaim what is ours.
Alright, so that's about 7,000 loot worth of profit. Remember, we spent close to 4,000 in supplies when we went into here, but this will pay that off. The 7,230 is in addition to that, so a total of about 12 to 13,000. We also got a trinket and 5 more deeds. That's a total of 7 deeds now, I believe. Alright, let's see. So we've got our 5th and final negative quirk for now, and on guard, plus 5 speed and plus 5 dodge on the first round of combat. That's pretty decent. That's not a bad one. Probably not one I'd lock in, but definitely a good one to have. Another negative quirk on Dismas, plus 20 stress versus Unholy. That's really bad for him right now because we're running so many quests in the ruins where there are a lot of unholy enemies. He may need to take a seat for a while. Wield foe, plus 20% stress in the wield. Skilled gambler, increased chance of winning while gambling. I'm not sure if when heroes gamble you actually win any gold to your own inventory, or if it just increases their stress relief. And another skilled gambler trait. Both of these heroes have hit level 2, adventure level 2 now, and we're 1 dungeon away from hitting level 2 with the other 2.
I remember days when the sun shone and laughter could be heard from the tavern.
Alright, so week 3, the big events in week 3 are you now have the blacksmith and the guild unlocked. Both are really important to improving the quality of your heroes. So we're going to talk about those in just a moment. Before we do that, let's go ahead and pull these guys out of our party. And let's take a quick peek at the quest that we have laid out. You can see we now have a quest in the Weald, which is a separate dungeon. The Weald is kind of a foresty area, and it has some unique enemies types, ones that we haven't seen before. This is a short mission, so it's almost definitely not going to be on my short list. But portraits are pretty useful. For a short mission, if you have nothing better to do, portraits aren't bad. We also have a medium veteran level. This is one that we will definitely stay away from. Going into a dungeon that you're under-leveled for and under-equipped for is usually a bad idea, even if the rewards are particularly good. In this case, a feather crystal is an interesting choice. Higher speed and dodge are moderately useful, the speed in particular, but lower stun and move resistance can be terrible. Move resistance can be kind of moot on certain classes that have a lot of access to skills that work in a lot of slots. So you wouldn't be as concerned if you're running a party that's really mobile or that has a lot of ability to attack from different positions with the skills you're using. But the stun resist can be really nasty in certain maps in particular. The Cove, I can think of for sure, has a lot of enemies that stun in it, and that would be a very bad trinket to maybe take into the Cove. But this one, another medium run. Debuff Amulet is interesting. -4 dodge again can work really well on a hero that doesn't have any dodge to begin with. So also a hero that has a debuff skill. And portraits again are better than anything except for deeds right now. So this might be the quest we end up taking. This one actually has 3 deeds guaranteed, but it's a much worse trinket, and it's not medium, so we do not get that extra round of healing and stress relief. And you saw we were able to pretty much knock all of our stress down just by that one camp. So having the ability to camp is so critical to having successful dungeon runs, because if things go really bad in the early going, you have the ability to recoup and finish the dungeon, and if things go really well like they did for us in that run, we can camp at the very end and replenish as much of our stress and healing as necessary. Remember, health doesn't really matter all that much when you finish a dungeon, as long as you finish alive. It doesn't really matter how much health you have. You will always start the next dungeon with full health, but your stress is persistent, and so anytime you can do anything to get another crit in, to disarm another trap potentially, to camp, you want to do it to remove as much stress as possible. I think we did a really good job on that run, honestly. But we have some other things to do. So we're at 20,000 gold now. We're doing pretty well, and we have a fair stock of heirlooms, which we're going to play around with right now. Ooh, very nice. Okay, so we got 4 slots and 4 heroes. We're going to go ahead and grab all of these. This one in particular is one that I'm very interested in. The Antiquarian is a hero that is very, very combat poor. They don't have very good stats. They don't have very good skills in terms of actually being useful in combat. But what they do have is a particular talent for bringing out more loot. And so when you bring an Antiquarian with you, you're able to stack gold to higher levels than you normally can. And you're also able to find special antique drops that are worth a lot of money when you sell them, that stack pretty high as well. So they're kind of like gems, but they're only available when you bring an Antiquarian. They can be really, really useful in helping you build up a nice reserve of cash. The problem is you really only want to take them on missions that are medium or long, because you want to have a lot of opportunity to collect those antiques, and you definitely want to make sure that you're bringing along a group that is capable of completing the dungeon in question without much help from a 4th member, because she's just not going to provide a lot in terms of combat. So That being said, we definitely want her on our team. Wheeled Adventurer, maybe take her into the wheel. Flagellant, not too worried about that.
She searches where others will not go, and sees what others will not see.
Okay, so we have another one of these Grave Robbers. +3 crit on range skills is actually pretty solid for a Grave Robber, and Evasive increases a stat that they already have a pretty high level of, which is always good. Guilty Conscience can cause her to interact with certain curios in an unfortunate way, but yeah, unfortunately her crit chance would be best served on this ability, and unfortunately she doesn't have that one unlocked, so yeah, I mean, she's an okay character, but not the most ideal. With her quirks, we're going to go ahead and take her anyways, just because we have the room for her until we
To
find
those
somebody
with
better.
a keen eye,
Might as well have her.
gold gleams like a dagger's point.
We also found another decent Crusader. Tuckered out. That's unfortunate. Tanks tend to take a lot of damage. Reducing your damage when you're hurt is compounding a problem. Nervous is also really bad, although I will say it's less bad for a character like the Crusader, because the Crusader tends to be in the front position, and the stress dealers, generally speaking, will be from the back position and target the back position more frequently. So you'll find your heroes in the back tend to accumulate stress more, especially if you don't focus those stress dealers down quickly, than the frontliners do. He does have a battle heal, which is situationally useful.
A mighty sword arm anchored by holy purpose. A zealous warrior.
And finally, an Abomination. So Abominations are pretty cool characters. They actually start with all of their abilities maxed out, or at least all of them unlocked, and you get to use all of them every single time. And the reason for that is they don't have any, what shall we say? They don't have any ability to pick and choose. They start in human form and they can transform into their monster form, which is pretty powerful. The problem with this is it does cause a lot of stress, and so if you don't have a character in your party that can relieve stress, the Abomination can be really, really rough on your party. It can cause them to get a little bit upset if you're not careful. We'll definitely take him. We may actually use him in our next run.
Tortured and reclusive. This man is more dangerous than
I can
he
already
seems.
see a potential group of level 0s that we could take on this next run that might work pretty well. The one problem that I do note is that we're not going to have a healer unless we take our Vestal once again. But if we take the right group of heroes, we may be okay even without a healer. So we'll consider that next time. Before we wrap this video up though, I do want to finish talking about heirlooms. And so we have the ability now, because we did a good job of picking the right quest and gathering the right amount of loot, to go ahead and upgrade our hero barracks by another 4 slots. That
Great
means
heroes
that
can
next
be
week
found
we're going to
even
grab
here,
4 more heroes.
in the mud and rain.
And we'll be able to put all of those into our barracks right away. So we won't have to kick anybody out just yet. And that's good. The more heroes we have to pick from, the more options we have. As we start to use these guys, if any of them get too stressed out or start to be annoying with too many negative quirks, we'll just give them the boot and keep looking for ones that are particularly awesome. And the main thing that makes one particularly awesome are really, really good positive quirks that we can lock in forever. That's what we want to find. The other thing we need to do before we end the video is talk about the guild and the blacksmith. Both of these are really important buildings, and this is one of the reasons why the tavern is not going to be something we're going to focus on right away.
Make no mistake. We will face ever greater threats. Our soldiers must be ready.
So the guild has the ability to improve your character's ability. So for example, if I move my hero over here, it will show all of the abilities that are available to him. And any of the ones that we have not started with, we can unlock for a certain amount of gold. You can see it's kind of expensive. Once we unlock these skills, we can actually increase their effectiveness by gaining more ranks. Your hero has to be at least the level of the rank that they're at. So this is mastery level 1. So we would have to be level 1 in order to pick up mastery level 1. We have to be level 2 in order to pick up mastery level 2, and so on and so forth. Getting all of these is really, really powerful in the mid to late game, but it's also very expensive. And you only want to do this with the heroes that you really plan on keeping indefinitely, and you're going to invest a lot of money into. At this point in the game, we really don't know who we're going to invest a lot of money into. We haven't found any heroes with exceptional quirks that we really want to just keep and use forever. And so I don't see any reason to mess around with this just yet. But the two things that we can do is we can unlock the higher levels of mastery. So as our heroes start to hit, more and more heroes hit level 2, we're going to want to unlock this level 2 slot by paying some portraits for it. And the other thing we can do is we can spend a lot of portraits and crests to reduce the cost of purchasing these things. So by putting a few portraits into this skill, we can greatly reduce the cost of this. The first one's 10%, and I believe they're all 10%. So 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 50% off of the cost, which makes these only 500 to purchase. That's quite a savings, and this is definitely something you're going to want to do with your core group of heroes. So keep that in mind. Again, portraits are used for the tavern, but we can't use both portraits for the tavern and for here very effectively. We need to focus on one building or the other. This is the building I would focus on before I would focus on the tavern. Likewise, the blacksmith.
The bellows blast once again. The forge stands ready to make weapons of war.
So the blacksmith is a really important building as well. If you look at your heroes start with long swords and, just really basic stuff. Coming to the blacksmith to improve these will increase the stats on your basic attack and also your basic defenses. This is how you increase your hit points. This is how you increase your stats, essentially. Now, the problem with this is this building uses the same resource as the stagecoach, and so this is why deeds are so critical in the early game, because without deeds you cannot improve both of these buildings, and you really need to improve both of them. This one's not quite as useful in the very early game, but as you get to the mid game, you're definitely going to want to have upgraded weapons before you start going into the medium level dungeons. You're going to want to take parties that have weapons and that have the proper training from the guild if you plan on taking on any of the bosses. Even the low level bosses are pretty difficult to take down if you haven't done that much. So that's where we're at. Next week we should unlock the sanitarium, and that is a really, really important building that we'll talk about more at that time. The very, very last thing that I wanted to point out, though, is why are portraits so much better than other heirlooms? And the reason for that is their trade value. So if you come down to this bar, they added this, I don't remember exactly when. It wasn't part of the original game in the alpha. It may have been part of the game on release, but I can't recall for sure. It may have also been a patch. But this was a neat little thing that they added to the game. So rather than being completely reliant on finding missions and finding random rolls for the heirlooms that you need. If you just happen to get stuck with a whole bunch of one type, you can trade them in, and you can see that it takes 2 busts to get 3 crests, and it takes 3 busts to get a single portrait or 2 deeds. Portraits have the best trade value of all of the heirlooms. So if I go to deeds, well, I only have 1, so I can't really trade my 1 deed. Crests have a terrible trade value. It takes a lot of crests to get anything else, but you do collect more of them than anything else, so that is something to be said for that. But portraits, 1 portrait will give you 3 crests, and 2 portraits will give you 3 deeds or 3 busts. So this is why portraits are so efficient as an item. A lot of times you're looking for quests that have 3 to 5 deeds. If you can't find a quest with 3 to 5 deeds, because you're trying to upgrade those 2 primary buildings, the blacksmith and the stagecoach, what you can do is look for a mission that has portraits. And so a 2 portrait mission is the same as a 3 deed mission. That's the way you need to think about it. So, and a 3 portrait mission is the same as, well, it doesn't give you the rounded amounts, so that's unfortunate, but you see what I'm saying here. We can get a fair amount of deeds for portraits, and that's really the big bottleneck that you're going to find most of the time in the game. So we do have 15 deeds. We could trade some for some, 15 portraits. We could trade some for more deeds if we really wanted to. We need 16 in order to unlock a 5th member each week on the stagecoach, or 16 to up our barrack size to 21. Both of these are pretty useful. Having more rolls each week gives you more options, more chances to find good heroes or heroes that you need specifically for a certain composition you're trying to run. I don't think we're going to do that just yet, and the reason for that is because we do have the guild now, and the guild is going to take some portraits, and we probably are going to put some portraits into the guild in the very near future, so I want to kind of save up some portraits for that. So that's where we're going to end the video for today. If you're enjoying it, let me know. If you have a specific party comp that you'd like to see me run, or a specific hero from the group here that you'd like to see go through the next dungeon, please put it in the comment section below. I'm planning on this next run of trying to run a group of completely new heroes that we have not run through the dungeon yet. So keep that in mind as we prepare for that, and we'll see you next time.